The stadium in London was a screaming vortex of light and sound. Wang Yibo, a master of controlled energy, moved through the performance with his usual effortless precision. His dancing was sharp, his gaze intense, his every motion a testament to his ironclad discipline. But on a screen halfway across the world, a single viewer, miles away from the chaos, saw something no one else could. Xiao Zhan'S, exhausted after his own long day, watched the live stream from his apartment. He wasn't just a fan, he was a silent observer of a language only they shared. The world saw Yibo's fiery performance, his relentless energy. Xiao Zhan'S saw the subtle flinch when Yibo's ankle rolled on an uneven stage marker, the tremor in his hands as he adjusted his microphone. And then, he saw the ultimate sign, a sheen of cold sweat on Wang Yibo's temples, a telltale signal of a rising fever. The public, focused on the spectacle, saw a hero pushing through. Xiao Zhan'S saw a person on the verge of collapse. In that moment, a fundamental, mind-blowing shift occurred. Xiao Zhan'S face, usually a canvas of gentle warmth and emotion, became a mask of terrifying, laser-focused calm. His eyes, normally soft and kind, hardened into 2 points of unwavering, lethal intent. He looked like a man preparing for a battlefield, not a worried partner. When his phone rang, a call from a concerned friend asking if he'd seen the performance, he answered with a chillingly brief, "Not now," and hung up. He didn't offer a single word of explanation. He simply moved. The mind-blowing truth was that Xiao Zhan'S love for Wang Yibo was not a gentle feeling. It was a fierce, protective instinct, an unyielding fire that drove him to move without hesitation. Panic was useless. Fear was a waste of time. There was no room for emotion when a person he loved was in danger. He wasn't a worried partner. He was a general, executing a flawless, high-stakes extraction plan. As he packed a small bag with water, medicine, and a change of clothes, his movements were fluid, his mind a steel trap of cold logic. The world saw a gentle soul, but they were about to witness the true strength of his love, a strength that was anything but gentle. The airport was a silent, empty tomb in the pre-dawn hours. Wang Yibo's team, exhausted and frantic, moved through the terminal like ghosts, their faces pale with worry. Their star was on the brink of collapse, his body racked with fever, and they were trying to get him onto a flight to their next tour stop, to fulfill a commitment he refused to break. He was slumped against his manager, half-conscious, his body trembling with chills despite the stuffy airport air. A sudden flash of light caught their attention. A black SUV, its windows tinted and opaque, pulled up to the curb. Out of it stepped a figure they all knew, but had never seen like this. Xiao Zhan'S, in a simple dark trench coat, moved with a quiet, terrifying authority. His face was a mask of cold, unwavering intent. He didn't rush. He walked with a fluid, deliberate grace, a silent, powerful force that seemed to cut through the frantic energy of the scene. The manager, a seasoned professional who had seen it all, opened his mouth to explain the situation, to say they had to get Yibo on the plane. But before he could get a word out, Xiao Zhan'S was there. He didn't say a word. He simply reached out and, with a silent, non-negotiable command in his eyes, took Wang Yibo's limp arm and placed it around his own shoulders. The manager, seeing the cold, unyielding power in his gaze, simply stepped back. There was no argument, no protest. It was an immediate, unqualified surrender. The mind-blowing element wasn't a dramatic confrontation. It was the complete, silent trust his presence inspired. Yibo's team, in their exhausted panic, saw a calm they didn't have and an authority they couldn't question. They didn't see Xiao Zhan'S as a worried boyfriend. They saw him as a leader, a silent general who had arrived to take command of a chaotic situation. As he guided Wang Yibo, step by step, toward his waiting car, the feverish man's head lolled against his shoulder. He said a single chilling phrase to Yibo's manager, his voice a low, steady command that brooked no argument. "He's coming with me. Don't worry. I will take care of everything. Get some rest." And then, he was gone, a phantom in the night, leaving the weary team standing in the quiet terminal, their mouths agape. The car was a silent, private sanctuary. Wang Yibo, now semi-conscious, was slumped against the cool leather seat. The fierce, cold general from the airport had vanished, replaced by a gentle, nurturing caretaker. The duality of his reaction was the most stunning, most profound part of the entire ordeal. Without a word, Xiao Zhan'S gently removed Yibo's shoes, pulled off his jacket, and carefully placed a cool, damp towel on his feverish forehead. He held a bottle of water to Yibo's lips, and then, with the same quiet care, gave him a fever-reducing pill. He didn't speak, didn't fuss. He simply acted, his hands moving with the easy, practiced grace of a nurse, his face a canvas of profound, gentle concern. When they arrived at Xiao Zhan'S apartment, a place of warmth and comfort, Wang Yibo was half asleep. Xiao Zhan carefully helped him to bed, changed his clothes, and sat by his side all night, a silent, unwavering vigil. The fire that had driven him to cross an ocean in the middle of the night was now a quiet, gentle warmth, a silent promise to stay until the storm had passed. When Wang Yibo finally woke up, his fever broken and the morning light streaming through the window, he was confused. He found himself in Xiao Zhan's bed, with the familiar, comforting scent of him on the blankets. Xiao Zhan was sitting on a chair beside the bed, asleep, his head resting on his hand. A wave of memory washed over him, the airport, the cold, the sight of Xiao Zhan's face. He knew he hadn't imagined it. He gently touched Xiao Zhan's arm, waking him. What happened?" he asked, his voice still thick with sleep. "Why am I here?" Xiao Zhan's eyes fluttered open. The cold, steel intent from the airport was gone, replaced by a profound, gentle warmth. He smiled, a soft, tired expression that reached his eyes. "You got a fever," he said simply. "You almost collapsed on tour. But why did you?" Yibo trailed off, unable to articulate the question that was on his mind. Why did you show up like that? You were so different, so cold. Xiao Zhan seemed to understand. He reached for Yibo's hand, his fingers lacing with his. "I know," he said, his voice low and honest. "I know I was different. The world sees me as gentle, and I am. But gentle doesn't get you out of a storm. Gentle doesn't cut through the noise. Panic and fear are useless when you love someone that much. My love for you, it's not just a gentle feeling. It's a fire. It's what drove me to move. I wasn't gentle at the airport because I couldn't be. I'm gentle now because I can be. I just needed to get you home, and I couldn't have done that by being gentle." The profound truth of his words was the final, breathtaking moment. Their love was not one-dimensional. It was a multifaceted force, capable of both fierce, protective action and quiet, nurturing care. Xiao Zhan wasn't just a partner. He was a silent, unwavering protector, a gentle force that could become a raging storm to ensure the other's safety. He had shown the world a glimpse of his true strength, a strength born not of anger, but of a profound and selfless love. The memory of the airport in the dead of night, of the cold rain and the quiet comfort of the car, had become a cherished secret between them. The public, however, had their own version of the truth, a truth forged in the light of the viral photo, the photo of Wang Yibo's hand on Xiao Zhan's back in the storm. It wasn't a scandal. It was an act of profound, protective love that had made their bond a symbol of quiet strength for millions. Their love, once a carefully guarded secret, was now a public, undeniable truth. And with that truth came a new, almost dizzying sense of freedom. The next mind-blowing scene happened a few weeks later, at a press conference for a major new collaboration. The room was packed with reporters, their faces a sea of anticipation. They were no longer here for speculation, they were here for confirmation. The questions began predictably enough, about the project, their roles, their chemistry. But then, a sharp-eyed reporter, one known for pushing boundaries, took a deep breath. "A few months ago," she began, her gaze fixed on them, "the public was left to speculate about your relationship. But after the shelter photo, everything changed. You've both been more open. My question is, are you comfortable with your private lives becoming a public symbol? Does it make you more vulnerable?" The room went silent. This was the question that, in the past, would have caused a moment of tense deflection, a carefully worded non-answer. But in that moment, something different happened. Xiao Zhan, instead of flinching, looked at Wang Yibo. He saw the quiet, calm confidence in his eyes, a confidence born from the knowledge that their love had weathered the storm, literally and figuratively. He felt a profound sense of courage, a courage he hadn't known he possessed. Xiao Zhan took a deep breath and spoke, his voice clear and steady. "A few months ago," he said, "I would have been terrified to answer that question. I would have felt that my vulnerability was my weakness. But what we have, it's not a weakness. It's our greatest strength. It's what helps us stand here today, to work, to create, to face all of you without fear. Our love. It's not a secret to be kept. It's a truth that has made us stronger. The press conference didn't stop there, but the air in the room had changed. The reporters, disarmed by his honesty, shifted their questions to a place of genuine respect and curiosity. The mind-blowing moment was not in the words, but in the effortless, unwavering grace with which they were spoken. For the first time, their bond was not a question to be asked, but a simple, elegant fact to be accepted. The true, final scene unfolded much later, in the quiet, comforting sanctuary of their shared home. The world outside was celebrating their bravery, calling them courageous. Xiao Zhan sat on the couch. The glow of the city lights a soft backdrop. "The public thinks we're brave for what we just said," he murmured, his voice soft with emotion. Wang Yibo, who was sitting next to him, looked at him and smiled. Not the rare, private smile, but a calm, everyday one he no longer felt he had to hide. He reached for Xiao Zhan'S hand and laced his fingers through his. "We aren't brave, Zhan'Ji," he said, his voice low and confident. "We're just happy. And you can't hide happy forever." The final, breathtaking truth of their love story wasn't a grand, dramatic confession or a hidden symbol. It was the simple, beautiful fact that their love had become a source of peace, a quiet, unwavering force that had transformed their fear into courage. They had, in the end, not just revealed a secret. They had set themselves free. The single, gentle touch on Xiao Zhan'S back at the outdoor event became the viral moment that defined their new reality. The cameras had captured it with breathtaking clarity, a silent, profound gesture that spoke 1,000 words. The public reaction was unlike anything they had ever experienced. The internet didn't erupt in frenzied speculation, it quieted into a collective, awed silence. The photo of Wang Yibo's hand, a warm and steady anchor on Xiao Zhan'S back, was captioned not with questions but with simple, poignant phrases: "He's their shelter, a love that waits, and he found his home." The umbrella from the rainy night, once a private symbol of their bond, had now found its physical manifestation in a touch, a public truth that everyone finally understood. In the quiet aftermath, away from the blinding lights and the noise, Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo saw the viral photo for the first time on a tablet screen. There was no panic, no frantic discussion of damage control. Just a shared, soft smile that spoke of a deep, secret satisfaction. It was as if a beautiful, private joke they had shared for months had finally been understood by the world. "They saw it," Xiao Zhan whispered, his voice full of wonder. Wang Yibo nodded, his eyes locked on the image. It wasn't just a picture of two men, it was a picture of a single, complete bond. The world was finally getting a glimpse of their truth, and the revelation wasn't a scandal, it was an act of pure, beautiful artistry. The next few weeks were a surreal transition. Their managers, once so cautious, now seemed to embrace this new, more open chapter. The public's reaction had been overwhelmingly positive, and it was impossible to ignore. But the most significant change wasn't in their public lives, it was in their private world. One evening, as they were unwinding at Wang Yibo's apartment, Xiao Zhan looked at him with a depth of emotion he hadn't fully processed until now. "That night," Xiao Zhan began, his voice soft, "you stood in the rain for me. I've always thought that was the most selfless, most romantic thing anyone has ever done. But now, I see it differently." This was the next mind-blowing scene, the final piece of the puzzle that made their love story so profound. Wang Yibo, who had been focused on a video game, paused the screen. He turned to Xiao Zhan, his gaze calm and steady. "That night wasn't just about me waiting for you," Wang Yibo said, his voice low and honest. "It was about me waiting for myself. I saw you, exhausted and alone in the storm, and I saw my past self. I saw the person I was a few years ago, feeling completely lost and unmoored in a world that was too big for me. That act of standing in the rain for you was an act of healing for me. I wanted to be the person who showed up for you in a way that no one had shown up for me. And when you walked out of that gate and into my arms, it wasn't just you finding your shelter. It was me finally finding a purpose for the hurt I had been through. My trauma, my feelings of loneliness, they weren't a weakness to be hidden anymore. They were a strength that allowed me to understand you on a level no one else could." Xiao Zhan's eyes filled with tears, a powerful realization washing over him. Their love wasn't just built on shared jokes and quiet affection, it was forged in a shared empathy, a willingness to stand in each other's storm and say, "I see you. I'm here." The gesture at the outdoor event wasn't just a sign of comfort, it was a physical manifestation of a promise that went beyond love. It was a promise to protect, to support, and to heal. It was a love that had transformed not just their present, but their past as well. Months turned into a year. The shelter gesture had become a permanent part of their public narrative, a symbol of their quiet, unwavering support for each other. At an annual awards ceremony, they were finally given a joint interview. The reporter, with a warm and genuine smile, didn't ask about rumors or scandals. She asked a simple, yet deeply personal question. "You two seem to have a bond that's completely unique in the industry," she began. "What's your secret?" The room fell silent, the cameras held at the ready. This was the final, breathtaking moment. Xiao Zhan looked at Wang Yibo, and their eyes met in a long, silent conversation that the world could only guess at. There was no longer any hesitation, no need for coded gestures or whispered words. Yibo reached over and, with an effortless, graceful motion, laced his fingers through Xiao Zhan'S. He looked at the reporter, a calm, confident smile on his face, and said, "There is no secret, just a promise. To always be each other's shelter." The cameras, this time, didn't capture a fleeting gesture. They captured the beginning of a new chapter, a love story no longer defined by what was hidden, but by the quiet, breathtaking bravery of what was finally, beautifully, revealed.